couple movies I reviewed on the Spook6ular, debatably horror. Some people would say it's not horror. Some people would say it's horror. I'm going to be talking about Pan's Labyrinth today. It is a Spanish film from director Guillermo del Toro, who made some other movies that I've seen, such as Mimic. But anyway, and, it is billed as like a psychological horror kind of movie, a dark fantasy kind of film. I think after watching this film, why not? It's horror. Now, again, my opinion on horror, does it evoke like any sort of emotion that is anywhere in the realm of fear or terror? And Pan's Labyrinth absolutely evokes those emotions. So it's a movie that takes place during the rise of fascism in the 1940s, I believe. And this movie takes place in Spain, I want to say. And it's about a young girl who has a mom who's pregnant, but the mom is the new wife of like the captain of the fascist army in that local region. And basically, the fascist wants to, just basically make her like a baby manufacturing plant, essentially. But the mom is sick, right? So she's trying to deliver this baby, right? But she's very sick. And so the young child is trying to find a way to make her, fixed or whatever. And she eventually stumbles into the forest nearby this encampment and sees like some magical creatures. And basically the magical creatures say, hey, we can heal your mom with some magic, all that kind of stuff. And but you got to do us a couple things. Also, by the way, you're like a moon princess, so that's cool. And this movie, it's awesome. Like, I'm going to be honest, it's awesome. Like, there's two kinds of movies taking place, right? Like, there's the child navigating this fascist kind of world where essentially Nazi soldiers, the equivalent in the Spanish region, are basically trying to control, they're fighting for resources with rebellious groups and all that kind of stuff, right? And, the thing I like about this movie is it starts off showing the main character, the 8-year-old girl, dead and dying, but then it rewinds, and then, they show you the end first. And then, launches into the movie, and she's, doing these side quests for, the magical creatures. And my favorite part of this film is, as you may expect, when she enters the Chalk Zone. Has anyone ever seen Chalk Zone? This movie came out after Chalk Zone, so I'm pretty sure that they got the idea from Chalk Zone, that motherfucker. But anyway, so she gets, a magical piece of chalk that, she draws on the wall and then enters, another magical realm where it's, some eyeball-less creature who's, sitting, just, we're talking about 100%, right? All of the visual stuff in that, section of the film, the extravagant meal at the table, when it pans, the art, no pun intended, pan, but when it pans through the room and you see all the art installations of this monster, eating children, and then you see the monster just sitting there at the table, motionless, that whole thing, and then that dumbass fucking girl ate one of the grapes, and then the monster almost killed her, but, ate some of the fairies and shit. That's crazy shit, man. That was the best part of the movie for me. And I know, that's the most action, initially I was like, is there going to be more of that? But this movie is, I would say this movie is, 80 to 90% a story about the war-torn country of Spain. And, again, the magical stuff. At the end, I just want to say, at the end, it kind of is revealed that, these magical creatures, either only the little girl can see them, or they don't exist. And one of the themes of the film is that the mother, before she dies, giving birth to the brother of this little girl, she keeps telling her, when I was a young person, I believed in magic, but magic's not real, right? So it kind of opens the movie up at the very end to, is any of this real? Is she, a schizophrenic, or is this just her way of trying to stay sane? She creates these other things. She wants her mother to feel better, so she creates a universe where she can help, and it creates this kind of unreliable narrator kind of thing. Was any of this real? Is she actually a moon princess? What the hell does any of that even mean? Right? So, and I really enjoy that. I think it's great. I think that all the extra characters, like the doctor, Like some of my favorite characters are the cooks, the women in the kitchen, that like constantly talk shit about the fascist captain, but like behind his back. I thought that was great. But again, you have the rebellion groups, you have the spies. Like this whole movie, there's so many layers to it, but I think it's really great. I think it's a great film. It's kind of like two movies happening at once. It's kind of like a little bit of a kind of like a look into like, the rise of fascism in Spain. And as well as how young kids would navigate that environment, right? Like how would they navigate that environment? Like they have to cope somehow. So yeah, some young kid creates a magical fantasy land and she dies happy knowing that like, she saved her brother or whatever, and it's a really good movie. I enjoyed it. The deception in this movie is really good. Like the areas where that both of these people are enemies, but one's a spy, and you're like all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of layers to that. The deception is really good. The anxiety is really good especially when the young girl is trying to rescue her brother, and she's navigating through like the fascist captain's like bedroom or whatever where the brother is. And trying to like hide from him, and he like comes close to sniffing her out. Like again, is this a horror film? Maybe not in the literal like most generic kind of sense, but again, it's a dark fantasy psychological horror, and again, it does a really good number of showing just like how fascism destroys people. I mean, again, like just the way that the groups interact with each other. Like there's the one scene where she is hiding underneath her mother's bed, and she overhears a conversation with the fascist captain and the doctor saying like, if you have to choose, save the baby instead of the mother. I don't care about the person. I don't care about the woman. I just wanted to be like a male child, essentially. Like that's his whole thing, right? And so like, just showing the depravity of that kind of stuff. I love the scene when one of the maids or the whatever she is, who's a spy, right? She's a spy for the rebellion, but she works with the fascists, as a spy, and she leaks information, but she gets found out. And she's about to be tortured by the fascist captain, and then she has like a secret knife, and she cuts his mouth open, like in the mouth, and then right. Oh! And then like later on, when the captain is like sewing his mouth back together, oh fuck, man! And then when he's trying to drink the alcohol, but it leaks out the hole in his mouth, oh! Right, that whole thing. Like, that was great. And she got away, too. Like, she almost got killed, but she got away, and that's great, and it's just a great movie. Damn, watch this fucking film. It's good. It's good. I like it. You'll like it. Is it in the most literal, direct sense a horror film? Maybe it's a little loosey-goosey on the definition, but I'd say, given the, the way that the monster that I mentioned looks, and, the real monsters are the fascists, and, I think that the whole thing, especially kids get killed, and it's just, it's a war movie. You can make an argument that all war movies are horror movies when you really think about it, because they're the most realistic kind of horror the world's ever seen. But either way, it's a great fucking movie. I enjoy it. It is in Spanish, so you have to see it with subtitles. But again, I know some people are weird about that. Sometimes when I'm really high, I don't like to watch movies with subtitles, but some people are really weird about that. But either way, it's definitely worth a watch. I recommend it. Pan's Labyrinth, bada boom and bada bing. So there you go.